The people getting the most out of Claude right now aren't the most technical. They're not the smartest people in the room. They're the ones who stopped treating Claude like a search box and started treating it like a hire. Here's what you'll get from the next 10 minutes. The one mental model that separates the people who say, Claude didn't work for me, from the people doing the work of a whole team with it. Plus, the 5 moves that turn a brand new hire into one who knows your business cold. Here's what this isn't. It's not a prompt pack. It's not 9 disconnected tips you'll forget by tomorrow. It's one frame and how to run it. By the end, you'll know exactly how to onboard Claude the way you'd onboard a person. Day 1, day 30, day 90. Let's go. Why smart people get bad results from Claude. Here's the things smart people get wrong. They open Claude, type a half sentence, get a mediocre answer, and conclude the tool is overhyped. They are too smart to be impressed by something that didn't read their mind. But you'd never do that with a person. You'd never hire someone on Monday, hand them 3 words of instruction, watch them produce something average, and fire them by lunch. You'd onboard them. You'd give them context, feedback, the tools to do the job. You'd expect day 1 to be rough and day 90 to be excellent. Claude is a new hire. The smartest thing you can do is stop expecting it to be a finished employee on the first afternoon. Everything else in this episode is how you onboard it. Day 1. The first move is a reflex change. When most people hit a problem, their default reaction is to search, to ask someone, or to sit in the stuck feeling and overthink it. The people who get the most out of Claude have rewired that reflex. Their default reaction to a problem is to ask Claude first. Stuck on instructions for something you bought? Confused by a form? Not sure how to phrase an email? Not sure where to even start? That's the new hire you walk over to first, not the last resort after you've already wasted 20 minutes. A brilliant hire you keep forgetting to delegate to is worth less than an average one you actually use. The reflex is the whole skill. Day 1, second move. Give Claude the job brief. The quality of what you get back is tied almost entirely to the context you put in. And context isn't complicated. It's just the background a person would need to do the task well. 4 parts. The task, what you actually want done. The information, your situation, your business, the relevant background. The constraints, what to avoid, who not to target, the phrasing you never use. And then the part most people skip. Ask Claude to ask you clarifying questions before it starts. You'd never hand a new hire a 1-line assignment and then be annoyed when they got it wrong. Give Claude the brief you'd give a person. The results stop being mediocre the moment you do. Day 1, third move. Trust, but check. A new hire is capable and new at the same time. So is Claude. Most of what you get back is good. Some of it needs a second look. The skill is knowing the difference. The famous cautionary tale is the lawyer who filed court documents citing cases that didn't exist because he took the output at face value and never checked. That's not a reason to distrust Claude. It's a reason to treat it like any new hire whose work you'd glance over before it goes out the door. When Claude gives you a fact, a figure, or a citation that matters, verify it the way you'd verify a junior's first draft. Not because it's usually wrong, because the cost of the rare miss is high, and checking is cheap. Day 30. Now the onboarding gets real. Here's the mistake that separates the people who give up from the people who get leverage. The give up move is to use Claude once, decide the output wasn't quite right, and quietly stop. That's firing a hire after 1 task. The move that works is feedback. You tell Claude what was off. Too formal, too long, wrong angle, missed the point of the second paragraph. And then you let it adjust, the same way a person would. In most companies, you don't consider someone fully ramped until 90 days in. Nobody expects that to happen in one conversation. Give Claude the 30 days of feedback you'd give a person, and it stops being a stranger every time you open it. Day 30, second move. Write the things down. Find one thing you do more than 3 times a week. preparing for a certain kind of call, reviewing a certain kind of document, drafting a certain kind of update. Break it into its actual steps and write them down. That document is your hire's training manual. You hand it to Claude as context, and suddenly it knows your process the way an employee who read the handbook would. You wrote the steps once. Claude follows them every time after. This is the single highest leverage thing you can do this week. Pick one repeated task. Write the steps. You'll get more out of that than out of any prompt trick. Day 30, third move. Let Claude check its own work. A great hire doesn't hand you the first draft. They draft, they look at it, they fix the obvious problems, and then they bring you something good. You can ask Claude to do exactly that. Give it a standard to hit. Write me this, and don't stop until it scores above 90 on its own rubric for hooks, structure, and clarity. Claude will write a version, grade it honestly, notice the hook is weak, and rewrite it before you ever see it. You stop being the first line of quality control and become the last. The hire that checks its own work before handing it over is the one you stop worrying about. Day 90. The hire stops telling you what to do and starts doing it. For most of Claude's life, it could draft you a plan, but couldn't act on it. You got a 100-item to-do list and still had to do all 100 things yourself. That's changed. Claude can now connect to the tools you already live in, your email, your calendar, your documents. Once it's connected, the relationship changes. You stop asking what to do and start asking it to do the thing. Summarize my 3 most urgent emails. Pull the relevant notes before this meeting. The hire has access now, not just opinions. I'm not going to walk you through the exact menu because the names and the locations move. Here's the better move. Open Claude and ask it what it can connect to and how. Tell it to check the current documentation before it answers. Names change. The idea doesn't. The whole model on one card. Day 1, day 30, day 90. Screenshot this. Here's what's actually going on under all of this. You're not getting better at prompting. You're getting better at managing. The skill that separates the people winning with Claude from the people who gave up isn't technical. It's the same skill that makes someone good at running a team. Clear briefs, honest feedback, written process, the right tools, patience through the ramp. Smart people get bad results from Claude because they expect a finished employee and judge it as a failed search engine. The people who get great results expect a new hire and onboard it like one. You already know how to do this. You've onboarded people before. Point that skill at Claude. One thing before you go. A real hire doesn't stay good on its own. You keep giving feedback. You update the process. You keep the relationship current. Claude is the same. This isn't set it and forget it. The people getting a team's worth of output are putting in a manager's worth of attention. Less attention than the work used to take, but not none. So here's your one move this week. Pick a single task you do more than 3 times a week. Write down every step. Hand those steps to Claude as context and run the task together once. That's day 1 of onboarding your best hire. Everything else in this episode builds on that one document. Smart people get bad results from Claude because they treat a new hire like a failed search engine. Onboard it instead. Day 1, the reflex and the brief. Day 30, the feedback and the manual. Day 90, the tools. Manage it like a person and it'll work like a team. That's the episode. See you in the next one.